Hey everybody, this is Aubrey again. I'm the farm manager at McDowell Farm School. We are still just missing y'all like crazy and thought that we would bring y'all out to spend some time with the goats. Since normally if you were visiting, you would definitely get to come meet our goats and hopefully milk them. So we're starting with our matriarch, the oldest goat in our herd. This right here is Vern. Her full name is Veronica. She's our oldest goat here. She's about 11 years old. She's a Nubian, which has its earliest origins in northern Africa and the Middle East. You can tell a Nubian, they have a couple key characteristics. One are their beautiful, long, broad ears that have this cute little flip at the end, like they curled them. And that's a pretty key sign that they came from somewhere that was hot. So a lot of times animals that have like those big, wide, long ears come from hotter climates. Those ears help with heat dispersal a little bit. The other key attribute of a Nubian is they call it the Roman nose, so this curved nose right here. So you can always tell a Nubian by those two pretty key characteristics. This little guy right here, this is her kid, so her baby goat. His name is Vernon. So this is Vern's last kid because she's 11, which is definitely old for a dairy goat and time for her to retire, meaning we won't breed her again so that she can just live out her life here without that stress on her body of getting pregnant and giving birth and being milked and all of that. So Vernon is her last kid, and as such we thought that we would honor her by naming him after her. So we call him Vern, which is very confusing because we have Vern and Vern. Nubians are a great breed because they are very calm goats. They're calm and friendly goats. They are stubborn, definitely. They still have very strong personalities like all goats do. But they tend to be really calm, friendly goats. You can see this kid right here is super, super sweet. He comes up to us whenever we come out into the field. He just wants to have attention and be pet, and he seems to really enjoy that. So we love having goats with those kind of personalities here. But we have goats with all personalities out here, which you know if you've been out here and met some of our goats. So let's see who else we have. Let's come over here and meet Lola. It's hot out here right now, so they are trying to get whatever shade they can. So Lola's kids are very skittish. You can tell they have a different personality from Vern. So they are hiding right now as we approach. But you can see hers are the ones with these really awkward ears that stick straight out like a helicopter and kind of flop around. That's because they're a different breed. So Lola right here, this is Lola. She's a sweetheart. Lola is an Oberhasli. That's a Swiss breed, so coming from Europe, from Switzerland. You can tell by her smaller ears. So Lola comes from a colder climate, so she has these smaller ears and they point straight up instead of those long, broad ears hanging down like the Nubians. Lola is a girl, and she does have horns. All goats, male or female, can have horns. That's just how it works. Lola is about 6 years old, so Vern is 11. That's what kids do. They love to jump and climb, and they have very patient moms. So she's 6 years old, so she's the next oldest goat that we have. She definitely seems to be the more dominant goat in our herd. I think largely because of her horns, she kind of pushes the other goats around and gets what she wants, but she's still very, very sweet. Hi guys. This is one of her kids right here. So I believe that one, let me see if I can get their names right because they look very similar. Oh yes, that is the artist formerly known as Prince. And then if you can see back here, there's another kid that looks very similar to him, just between Ruby and Queenie right here, but she has a little white stripe that goes straight across her forehead, and that is Aretha Franklin. So we named Lola's kids after famous singers. So that's Aretha, and then Prince, oh my gosh, is over there cuddling with Lola right now. Lola is an Oberhasli, like I mentioned, that Swiss breed. So her kids, she was bred with, you might have met our buck, our male goat, Blue, and he's a Nubian. So her kids are a mix of an Oberhasli and a Nubian, which is why their ears look like that. So they are right in between the long ears that flop down and the little ears that stick straight up, which is why their ears are this awkward, long, floppy thing going on. Super, super cute. Lola's kids are very skittish. They're really different from a Nubian kid, and that comes a lot from the Oberhausley genes. As you can see, Lola's really been socialized a lot, and she's a very sweet, very affectionate, calm goat. But her kids, every single year, they come out very skittish, and it's really hard to pet them. Yep, there's Aretha. So they look almost exactly the same. Oh, and they're drinking. Almost. So if you've been to McDowell before, you know our goats. You may not know our new goats. We have 2 new goats that we got this spring, which is really exciting for us. This is Ruby right here. Let's see if Lola will let us come hang with Ruby. Ruby is a sweetheart. So Ruby is a Saanen, which is spelled S-A-A-N-E-N. If you notice some similarities between Ruby and Lola, they both have these smaller ears that stick up. So what part of the world do you think they're from? That's right, they're from Switzerland. So she's also a Swiss breed. So also used to those colder climates, which is why she has those smaller ears. Saanens are known for having... Goats love to jump and they love to frolic. Now Aretha here is crying because she's a little nervous about us. She doesn't know if she can cross through. There she goes. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. I'll pause and tell you right now, this is when the goats love to be out foraging. So goats are really different from cows or sheep in that they are foragers, they're browsers more than grazers. So if you think about a cow is going to spend all day long out on pasture eating grass with its head down. Same thing with a sheep. Goats would rather be doing exactly what, look at Queenie, exactly what they're doing right now, which is browsing up above their head in the trees or shrubs or bushes. So goats were one of the very first animals that was domesticated along with dogs. And if you can think about why, so they came from the Middle East and Western Asia part of the world. And they were a really great first animal for humans to domesticate because they provided milk and meat, but they could survive in really tough climates. So they could survive in rocky, mountainous climates. They could survive in places where there were really only like shrubs and tough bushes and gnarly trees to eat and fend for themselves and thrive that way. So they didn't need lush pastures of green grass and lots of water. They could handle tough, dry, hot climates. And so it means that today they're really great for managing weeds. If you want to cut back your kudzu or your privet or cut back a tree line, they're really excellent at clearing out weeds and shrubs and trees and things like that. So this is what they want to be doing all day long. So we try and provide in our pasture at least some area where they've got trees and shrubs and bushes and branches and things to eat from. And if you want to have goats for yourself, I would really recommend thinking about using them for that, for weed management or you know, cutting back invasive species and things like that. All right, back to our star, Ruby. So Ruby, as I mentioned, is a Saanen. That's a Swiss breed. They have the most beautiful dispositions. She's one of the sweetest goats I have ever met. Also stubborn. Most goats tend to be pretty stubborn and hard-headed, literally and figuratively. But she's really sweet. She comes running to us when we get to the farm, and you'll often hear she and Queenie, one of our other goats, crying for us as we leave. So she's a really sweet goat, and I'm excited for y'all to come meet her in person because she loves attention. She always wants to be in the center of attention. Saanens are a great dairy breed because they have a lot of buttermilk fat. So when we milk her, you can always tell which milk is Ruby's because there's a lot of cream in there and it's really delicious. So they're a great dairy breed. And we raise goats here for dairy, for milk, so that kids can come here and try milking goats for themselves and see where their dairy products come from. And then we can make milk and cheese and caramel and butter and oh my gosh, ice cream, so many delicious things with that milk. So all of our breeds here are really great milking breeds. The Nubians, the Oberhausleys, and the Saanens, awesome milking breeds. So right now, Ruby's actually showing a perfect example of goat digestion. You may have seen her, hi sweetie, you may have seen her chewing. It looked like she was chewing bubble gum. And that's because goats are ruminants, just like cows and sheep are also ruminants. So the word ruminant comes from the Latin word ruminare, which means to chew over again. So goats literally regurgitate their food. So what happens is Ruby me see if I can get her to do it. Ruby will chew, grab a bite of grass or shrubs or trees or whatever, and she only has teeth on the bottom row, on the bottom of her mouth. She doesn't have her top front row of teeth like we do. And that's because she doesn't need front teeth to chew. She just needs those front teeth to rip off the food that she's gonna eat. And then she might chew it a little bit so she can swallow, but she pretty much swallows it whole. Then goats have 4 chambers in their stomach. We only have 1. Goats have 4. It's crazy. So that food will go into the first chamber of her stomach. Here's my pointer. And then it'll get softened down a little bit by some of those digestive juices, and then she will literally regurgitate it. And you can see it happen. Maybe it'll happen while we're here. You'll see a little lump, and it looks like she's burping. Hey, Vernon. And it'll go all the way up into her mouth, and then she'll go, whoop, and her cheeks will puff out. And that's her regurgitating the food that she just ate. And then she'll just sit and chew on it. So if you've ever heard someone use the word ruminating, like, oh, I'm just really ruminating on it, it means that you're sitting and you're chewing metaphorically on an idea or a thought. And that's what they're literally doing. They're just sitting around for a long time chewing on the food that they digested earlier. And she'll do that process over and over and over again. She'll keep swallowing, regurgitate, chew, swallow, regurgitate, chew, and then eventually it'll go into the next 3 chambers of her stomach and get digested fully. And then it comes out as poop, which is awesome fertilizer for our pastures. So it's a pretty cool process. Goats are very curious. It's kind of a myth that they'll eat anything. They're actually pretty picky eaters, but they are very curious. Like, she's nibbling my skirt, and they like to find new things to eat. So they'll certainly investigate anything, but it doesn't mean that they can or should eat just anything. We're actually pretty careful about the diet that we give our goats. We want to make sure that they're healthy and that the milk that we're drinking is also healthy. And that all has to do with us having healthy soil, healthy grass, and healthy animals. So over here we have Nix. I'm staying a little bit farther away from Nix just because she's a little bit more skittish, and I like to make sure that our goats feel really calm. Nix is actually Lola's kid. So you can see again those ears, those floppy ears. You can see that she has that Oberhausley Nubian mix. Nix is a powerhouse milker. She gave us a gallon of milk just this morning. And we milk our goats usually twice a day. So she has a ton of milk. She's a really, really great dairy goat. Nix is about 2 years old. And if you can see over there, we've got 2 of her kids that were born this year. Nix's kids are named after breakfast foods. So I always get them confused, but I'm pretty sure that if you can see the darker one, the dark brown one with like the black accents, I'm pretty sure that that one is Biscuit, and the lighter brown one is Pancake. It looks like a biscuit and a pancake, right? So those kids, because their mom was a Nubian Oberhausen mix, they have a little bit more Nubian in them than Lola's kids do. So they're a little bit calmer, not quite as skittish. They still are a little bit skittish, but not quite so much. And you can see Nick's giving us an awesome example right now of the amazing foraging abilities. And those hooves are designed for climbing. If you've ever seen like mountain goats, they can climb a really steep, sheer surface just because their hooves are so dexterous and really good at holding on to things and climbing around. They're awesome, awesome climbers. So the last goat that I want to introduce you to is our newest little goat, Queenie. So this is Queenie right here. Queenie is a sweetheart. Queenie came from Dotson Doe's farm, really great friend of ours. Oops. She's very graceful. Queenie, like Ruby, is super sweet and friendly. I bet you can guess what breed she is. You're right, she's a Nubian. Since Queenie and Ruby are both our new goats this year, they kind of ended up buddying up as the new kids. So they hang out together a lot. You can see Queenie following Ruby around. Queenie's full name is actually Queen of Hearts. You can't really tell right now, but she's got these spots on her back, and when she's shaved, it actually makes like a heart shape. So Amanda at Dotson Doe's named her Queen of Hearts for that reason, and I think that's really cute, and it fits her very well. So she's a sweetheart. So these are our 2 newest goats, and they've been a great addition to the herd because they're just so sweet and friendly and love to be the center of attention. So I'm excited for y'all to come out and meet them in the future and get to cuddle with them because they just love it. They can't get enough attention. So our goats are out here on pasture, and we rotate them every week. So if you saw our pig video, you may have heard some of the reasons why we rotate our animals. We want to make sure that they have a fresh environment, something new to explore all the time so that their minds are stimulated. And we want to make sure that they also have fresh grass. If we were to leave them on one place for too long, they would just eat the grass all the way down, and it would have a really hard time recovering. So we want to leave them just enough time that they eat the grass down and it'll grow back and be really robust and healthy. Goats are also susceptible to parasites, especially down here in the south. So we want to make sure that we're moving them all the time. Those parasites tend to live lower down on the grass, like in the first few inches. And so if we move the goats before they nibble the grass down really short, then we can help to reduce their parasite load. And it also helps to evenly distribute their poop along our pastures. And like I said, it just makes the best fertilizer for our pastures and makes the soil healthy, the grass healthy, our goats healthy, and the milk that they give us healthy. So like I said, our goats span a wide range of ages here, from Vern, who is retired now and no longer going to be milking. Ruby here is about 3 years old. Queenie and Nix are 2 years old, and Lola is 6. We breed all of our milking does every year, so they have to have kids every year for them to give us milk every year. So oh, that's a good example of ruminating there, Queenie. So we breed our goats usually early September, and their gestation period, so the amount of time that they're pregnant, is about 5 months. So that means that they end up having their kids early February, which is really good timing as far as, like, it's not super cold like the winter time. It's also not too hot, and it's just about the time that our staff and school kids are arriving, so they get to also meet the really cute baby goat kids. And let's see, a couple other things that you should know about goats. Their average lifespan actually is between 15 and 20 years, so they can live a long time. Dairy goats experience a little bit more stress on their bodies, again, because they're pregnant every year, and because we're using that milk for us to drink, and so it means that they're producing a lot of milk. And so that's a lot for them to have their bodies go through every year. So that's why when they reach about the age of 10, we stop milking them, we stop breeding them, so that their bodies can just focus on taking care of them. Another fun fact about goats, you may have heard of, like, have you ever heard people say that the color red will make bulls, like cows, really angry? So that's actually a myth. Goats and sheep and cows all have the same kind of vision, and none of them can see the color red at all. Isn't that crazy? So if you think about a goat's life, what colors do you think are the most important colors for them to be able to see? If you think about what they eat, it's actually greens and blues. So they need to be able to find good pasture and forage, right? So the main colors that goats can see are green and blue, and they can't even see the color red. So fun fact, something you can share with people at home. And I think that's the big stuff that I wanted to share with you about goats. I really hope that you get to come visit us in the future and meet all of our wonderful goats. They all have such different personalities, and all of their kids have such different personalities, and they're really fun and challenging and awesome and crazy to work with. And if you come visit us in the future, we'll be able to teach you how to milk these goats, and you can come out here and hang in the pastures with us. So we hope you all are doing really well. We miss you and hope to see you soon. Oh, one more thing. If you have not already taken our BuzzFeed Which McDowell Goat Are You quiz, you should definitely take it. It's really fun. It's available on our Facebook page, and it's a BuzzFeed quiz that Carol Ann, our awesome program coordinator, put together, and you can find out which of our goats' personalities most matches your personality. So we have Vern, we have Ruby, we have Queenie, we have Lola, and we have Nix. So check out our Facebook page, take the quiz, and see which McDowell goat you are.